everyone, and welcome back. Today, we're diving into a story of epic proportions, a tale filled with wisdom, wealth, power, and ultimately, a tragic downfall. We're exploring the biblical book of 1 Kings. This isn't just an ancient history text. It's a gripping narrative about leadership, faith, and the consequences of our choices. It kicks off with the golden age of Israel under a new king and ends with a kingdom torn in two. So, grab your coffee, get comfortable, and let us journey back to see how a unified nation reached its glorious peak and then began to crumble.
The story begins with King David, a legendary figure, now old and frail.
The big question on everyone's mind is, who will succeed him? His son Adonijah tries to seize the throne, but David, guided by the prophet Nathan and Bathsheba, makes his final and most crucial decision. He anoints his younger son, Solomon, as the new king of Israel. This sets the stage for one of the most remarkable reigns in history. As David passes the torch, he gives Solomon a powerful charge. Walk in God's ways, keep his commands, and the kingdom will prosper. It's a somber and powerful handover of power from a father to a son, from one era to the next.
Solomon's reign starts with a bang.
In a dream, God appears to him and offers him anything he desires. Instead of asking for riches or a long life, Solomon makes a humble and profound request. He asks for wisdom, a discerning heart to govern God's people and to distinguish between right and wrong. God is so pleased with this selfless request that he grants Solomon not only unparalleled wisdom but also the riches and honor he didn't ask for. This divine gift of wisdom would soon be put to the test in one of the most famous legal cases ever recorded. You've probably heard of it, the story of the 2 women and the baby. Both women claim to be the mother of a living infant. With no witnesses and no DNA tests, how could anyone know the truth? This is where Solomon's legendary wisdom shines. He calls for a sword and orders the baby to be cut in 2, with each woman receiving half. It's a shocking command, but it's a brilliant psychological test. The real mother, in her love and desperation, cries out to spare the child's life, even if it means giving him to the other woman. The liar, however, agrees to the grim solution. In that moment, Solomon identifies the true mother, and his reputation for justice and wisdom spreads like wildfire throughout the land. With his wisdom established, Solomon embarks on a massive building campaign that will define his legacy. His crowning achievement, the construction of the temple in Jerusalem. For 7 years, the nation's finest resources and craftsmen are dedicated to building a magnificent house for God. It's a structure of breathtaking beauty, overlaid with pure gold, intricate carvings, and the finest materials. This isn't just a building, it's the spiritual center of the nation, a permanent home for the Ark of the Covenant, and a symbol of God's presence among his people. When the temple is finally completed and dedicated, Solomon offers a beautiful prayer, and God's glory fills the house in the form of a cloud. It's the absolute peak of Israel's history. The kingdom is united, prosperous, and at peace, with God dwelling in their midst. Solomon's fame and wealth become legendary. The Bible tells us he was wiser than any other person, and kings and queens from all over the world traveled to hear his wisdom. The most famous of these visitors was the Queen of Sheba. She came with a huge caravan, bearing spices, gold, and precious stones, to test Solomon with hard questions. She was completely blown away. She confessed that what she saw and heard far surpassed the reports she had been told. Solomon's court, his wisdom, his wealth, it was all beyond belief. This period marks the Golden Age. Israel is a world power, respected and admired, a beacon of prosperity and divine blessing. It seems like nothing could go wrong. But here, the story takes a dark and tragic turn. The very man, blessed with so much wisdom, begins to make foolish choices. Despite God's clear warning against it, Solomon marries hundreds of foreign women from nations that worship other gods. He builds a massive harem of 700 wives and 300 concubines.
As he grows older, the influence of these foreign wives begins to corrupt him.
To please them, He starts building shrines and altars to their god Ashtoreth, Molech, the wise king who built a magnificent temple for the one true God is now promoting idol worship right in Jerusalem. He slowly but surely turns his heart away from the God who had given him everything. God is understandably angry. He appears to Solomon again, not with a blessing, but with a judgment. Because Solomon has broken the covenant and turned to other gods, God declares that he will tear the kingdom away from him. However, for the sake of David, his father, God promises not to do it during Solomon's lifetime. The judgment will fall on his son. But even then, God shows a glimmer of mercy. He won't tear away the entire kingdom. He will leave one tribe for Solomon's heir to rule, for the sake of David and for the sake of Jerusalem. The seeds of division have been sown by the king himself. The golden age is over, and the cracks are beginning to show. After Solomon's death, his son, Rehoboam, takes the throne. The people of Israel, who had endured heavy taxes and forced labor under Solomon's massive building projects, come to Rehoboam with a simple request. Lighten our burden, and we will serve you. Rehoboam consults the old, wise elders who served his father. They give him sound advice. Listen to the people, serve them, and they will be your loyal subjects forever. But Rehoboam rejects their counsel. Instead, he listens to his young, arrogant friends who tell him to show his power. He goes back to the people with a harsh and foolish reply. My father disciplined you with whips, but I will discipline you with scorpions. That was the last straw. 10 of the 12 tribes of Israel rebel against Rehoboam's rule. They declare, what share do we have in David? We have no inheritance in the son of Jesse. To your tents, O Israel. And just like that, the United Kingdom splits in two. The 10 northern tribes become the Kingdom of Israel, and they appoint a man named Jeroboam as their king. The 2 southern tribes, Judah and Benjamin, remain loyal to Rehoboam and the house of David, becoming the Kingdom of Judah. The glorious nation built by David and Solomon is now a fractured, divided family pitted against itself. The book then follows the parallel and often conflicting stories of these 2 new kingdoms. The northern kingdom of Israel gets off to a terrible start. Their first king, Jeroboam, is afraid that his people will return to Jerusalem in the south to worship at the temple, and their loyalty will shift back to So, to consolidate his power, he sets up 2 golden calves in his own territory and tells the people, here are your gods who brought you up out of Egypt. It's a catastrophic act of idolatry that sets a sinful pattern for the northern kingdom for the rest of its existence. Almost every king of Israel who follows is described as walking in the sins of This is when one of the most famous prophets in the Bible steps onto the scene. Elijah the Tishbite. He appears out of nowhere and confronts the wicked king Ahab of Israel and his notorious wife, Jezebel. Ahab and Jezebel had taken Israel's idolatry to a whole new level, promoting the worship of the pagan god Baal. Elijah boldly declares that there will be a severe drought in the land, a judgment from God for their idolatry. And for 3.5 years, not a drop of rain falls.
This sets up one of the most dramatic showdowns in the entire Bible. Elijah challenges the 450 prophets of Baal to a contest on Mount Carmel.
It's a simple test. 2 altars, 2 bulls for sacrifice, but no fire. Each side will call on their god, and the one who answers with fire from heaven is the true God. The prophets of Baal go first. They pray, they shout, they dance, they even cut themselves, from morning until evening, but nothing happens. There's only silence. Then, it's Elijah's turn. He rebuilds the Lord's altar, digs a trench around it, and then does something incredible. He has the people douse the altar and the sacrifice with water. Not once, not twice, but 3 times, until the trench is filled. Then, Elijah says a short, simple, powerful prayer. Immediately, fire from the Lord falls from heaven and consumes everything the sacrifice. The wood, the stones, even the water in the trench. The people fall on their faces and cry out, the Lord, He is God. The Lord, He is God. The Book of 1 Kings concludes by chronicling the reigns of various kings in both Israel and Judah. It's a messy history, filled with war, assassinations, and political intrigue. The book presents a clear pattern. Kings who follow God and lead the people in righteousness generally experience peace and blessing. But kings who embrace idolatry and lead the people astray bring disaster upon themselves and their nation. The book ends not with a conclusion, but with a continuation, as the stories of these two kingdoms, their prophets, and their fates carry on into the next book, 2 Kings. So, what's the big takeaway from 1 Kings? It's a powerful lesson in leadership and legacy. It shows us that wisdom and blessings are not guarantees of a faithful life. Even the wisest man can fall. It teaches us that our choices have far-reaching consequences, not just for us, but for generations to come. And it reminds us that faithfulness to God is the ultimate foundation for any lasting success or true prosperity. Thanks so much for joining me on this deep dive into 1 Kings. It's a fascinating and important story. If you enjoyed this, please give this video a like. And don't forget to subscribe for more journeys through these incredible ancient texts. Let me know in the comments what you find most compelling about this book. See you in the next video!